Two guys in their early 50s with one dream: to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Andy Walker, welcome back. It feels like forever since we've both been able to get behind the microphones and have a bit of a conversation on the Missing Links Golf Show, but here we are.
Yes, September, October was the holiday time of year here in Australia. Firstly, for my franchise network, where we've always got our conference in September, so I usually use the opportunity to get away, and then school holidays. So it's always a busy holiday time of year, which isn't a bad thing, really.
It's not a bad thing. Yes, we got away last week up to sunny Queensland, which was magnificent to spend a bit of time on the beach. Not too many beaches around Dubbo and Orange, so it was nice to get there.
Were they celebrating a lot in Queensland? I sort of feel as though this year the Queenslanders have had a fair bit to celebrate on the sporting field.
Funny you mentioned that, because obviously the Rugby League Grand Final that was on whilst I was up there, which was effectively between Queensland A and Queensland B. And without offending any of the Pilgrims that may support either of those teams, I really struggled with that, because it was pretty much a team that I really disliked playing against, a team that I really hoped that would lose. And I can't tell you which is which on that one. So yeah, it was interesting.
It was a good game, though. I actually quite enjoyed the game. I thought that the Bronx, I mean, look, they came back from double digits in each of the last three games that they played, and I think it's just it's a phenomenal effort to be able to they've taken, especially their coach Michael Maguire has taken a lot of heat this year about just how hard he trains them during the preseason. But you can't argue against results, and two grand final wins with two different clubs, with the Bunnies back, what was that, 2013, 14, something like that. And now the Broncos, you can't really argue against those sorts of stats.
No, they're definitely good stats. But that's enough about rugby league, to be perfectly honest, because, Brisbane versus Melbourne wasn't my ideal grand final. Anyway, you know what else was on over the weekend, if you're talking about sport, was the King of the Mountain at Bathurst. And
yes,
the reason that I raised that is, whilst I was up in Queensland, we caught up with an old friend that actually used to be a flatmate back in Sydney. And he is a racing aficionado.
Yeah, right.
And a little bit along the lines of what you and I have done with setting up the Missing Links Golf Show high performance centres in our garages. He has actually set up the Mooloolaba Motorsport High Performance Centre in his garage.
Nice.
And has a full-on racing simulator. Now, I'm not talking a PlayStation, kind of setup. I'm talking what he's got is the simulator that is used by professional racing car drivers.
Yeah, right.
And even up to Formula One drivers that use this stuff to get to know tracks. And like in the same way that golf simulators, sort of you can play courses. Well, on this, you can race real tracks that have been laser scanned to 2 millimeters in terms of the undulations of the track. So super realistic in super realistic driving conditions. And he actually races on this a bit like Joe Legowski does with golf on the simulator.
Yeah, right.
Circuit.
Yep.
Brentles races on the simulator racing circuit globally.
Excellent.
He's a top 10 simulator racing driver, which is amazing. He also races real cars separately, but anyway, this is simulator high performance centre story.
Nice.
And
love it.
So we were doing some laps of Bathurst of Mount Panorama in the high performance centre at Mooloolaba. It was magnificent. Anyway,
yeah. Have you actually driven around the circuit?
Yeah,
as well,
ages ago, like years and years ago. Yes, and it's frightening If anyone
it is.
hasn't done it, it's worth doing. But
I mean, the speeds that those guys go across the top of the mountain is just
crazy. It's just crazy.
unbelievable. Like and when it was raining in the middle of like pouring down rain, and even the cloud came over the top of the mountain and they could barely see in front of them, and they're still doing like 170, 180 across the top of the mountain, and you just go,
it's crazy.
Yeah, just coconuts.
So anyway, that was fun. So we did that, and that was a bit of a highlight of the trip. To be perfectly honest, it was good, but it was good to see. Doesn't matter what your thing is, you've got to have a thing, and high performance centers are not strictly only for golf. So
no. Lots of different activities. I know that there's a couple of indoor sports facilities where you've got like 50 something different games that you can play on. So golf's one of them, but then there's soccer, there's tennis, there's all sorts of different things that you can play in those sorts of simulated environments. And you got to get a high performance center of some description.
You absolutely do. So there you go, Andy Walker. That's a little bit of a random opening to the episode that you weren't expecting. But tonight, we have much to discuss. And I think this is an episode really that shall be known potentially as the return of the Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Or the rise of the Walker.
Have you risen? I was thinking more like the return because you came back from your holiday.
That's true. Well, I've returned to golf as well. I mean, I've now played a little bit of golf over the past, probably a couple of months. Sort of around mid-August, I started to play a bit more. Well, not play, but get it out into the high performance center and do a bit of practice. And wrist is feeling good, so I'm seeing some pretty significant improvements over that time. So I'm pretty happy with where things are at, all in all.
Well, that is awesome news. So what have we got to cover? What are the stories that we're going to talk about tonight? You've been up to quite a lot. I want to hear all about it.
Well, I've as I said, I've been doing a bit of work in the high performance center, but I think we're going to cover the high performance center in a later episode. I've got some updates there in what I'm doing there, how I'm practicing, how I've structured my practice. So I think, because I know you've got some high performance center updates, so let's sort of, maybe park that to the side for this episode, and let's just talk about real golf, because I did have a great game of golf while I was over in Malaysia, and I've had a comp round since I've been back. So I think that's probably a good start to where we should kick off.
All right. Well, lead us into it, sir. So, Rise of Walker.
The rise of the Walker, and pilgrims, you'll have to excuse my croaky voice. I am recovering from a bout of the flu. I'd like to thank my 12-year-old son for that. He was generous enough to share his germs with me, so I was a little bit crook last week, so the voice is still a little bit croaky. But while we were in Malaysia, we went to Penang, stayed on Penang Island, which beautiful spot. Would go back there in the heartbeat. It was amazing. We had a game of golf. So mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm part of a franchise group, and as part of every second year we have a conference overseas. So this year we had the conference in Penang. So we all made the trip across to Penang, went to the conference, stayed at the Shangri-La, which is sort of a little bit outside of Georgetown. Georgetown's a very historic town on Penang Island. Again, highly recommend you go there. People are just absolutely amazing. But while we were there, we had a game of golf organised at Penang Golf Club, which look, the course itself was a reasonable layout. So if you're, for Sydney siders, I'd probably put it in the sort of Pennant Hills, Oatlands type of category. So, it's not good enough to say have an Australian Open or Australian PGA on it, but it's still pretty challenging and pretty enjoyable. So, still a reasonable test of golf. Unfortunately, the condition of the course was a little bit disappointing. The greens, and they may have sort of renovated the greens fairly recently because they were a bit furry, very very slow,
Mm. Yep.
and the fairways weren't great. There were some really nice areas of the fairways, but then there were some areas which weren't that good. I mean, we did play preferred lies. I just couldn't have played the ball off the deck,
Mm.
and got reasonably good lies off most shots. So look, the company was good, weather was great, so good day was had by all. No complaints, but yeah, the just the condition of the course was a little bit disappointing.
Mm.
So I also played with a set of hire clubs, which was quite
Oh,
interesting.
yeah. Okay.
Now these hire clubs, they're a set of Callaways that are about 20 years old.
Nice.
They also had regular shafts. So,
Oh, right. Good
me,
luck.
with my driver, I've got a swing speed of about 108 miles an hour. Regular shafts just don't really
Yeah.
suit my swing. So it was a bit of a challenge, especially off the tee. It was a little bit sort of wild
So,
off the
so
tee.
what actually happened with that? Was it leaving the club face open, or was it just releasing
Both,
too fast?
both. It was
Yeah,
just
okay.
compensation and then overcompensation.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mind you, when I got it right,
Yeah.
it went
It
a
would go
long way.
miles. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, there was a bit of steering going on a lot of the time. But then, as I said,
Yeah.
there was sort of three or four drives that I got that actually pinged straight off the middle of the club and went quite a long way. So. But look, again, it's a set of hire clubs. The other interesting point, and as you know, because I use the broomy
Mm.
as part of my regular kit, I had to use a short putter for the first time in a
So
lot
good.
of years.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah, look, it wasn't it wasn't ugly. I
Okay.
mean, I wouldn't say I putted great, but I probably would have, and I didn't sort of count how many putts I had. We were out there for quite literally, it was a hit and giggle. So, but I missed, a couple of short putts, but then I made a couple of really good putts too. So, I don't think it was dramatically different from my normal performance.
Okay.
I do putt cross-handed, so in my
Of course you
younger
do.
days when I
Of course
was
you do.
using the short putter, I
Yeah.
putted cross-handed. So that was the game that I played in Penang.
I
So
want to
yeah,
see
so it
you
was a
putt
couple
cross.
of
Sorry, I want to see you putt cross-handed with the broomy.
yeah, no, I don't think that worked very well. But
No.
mind you, I did see, and I forget who it was on the PGA Tour. I saw someone do a right-handed golfer putt with the claw, but the claw was his left hand rather than the right hand.
How?
Yeah, it was a bit weird. So he's got his normal right hand grip,
Yeah.
and then had the claw with
On the
uh, with
top
the
hand.
the the left hand, which was his dominant hand, his lead hand. He had it below his right hand in the sort of the reverse claw position.
That does not make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. So it was an interesting
Very strange.
interesting way to go about it. But look, so we played in carts as well, which was good. Was pretty warm, it's probably 30, 32, 33 degrees. So tropical conditions. Had a bit of an ordinary start over the first seven holes. I mean, just trying to sort of get the lay of the land, get used to the shafts. I actually lost two golf balls just off the fairway. The rough was pretty thick. So off the second where I hit it down the left tree line, and then the sixth where I hit it just down the right tree line. And we had caddies, and you'd think sort of with caddies, they'd know exactly where the ball was going. Sort of got down there and no ball.
Mm-hmm.
So, those two holes, I basically gave myself a double and drove to the next tee. So,
Yeah.
with sort of those two doubles over the first seven holes, I sort of calculated I was about nine over. So that was sort of a bit of an estimate with the higher clubs, the short putter, and a couple of lost balls. But then I parred part 8 and made a good birdie at 9, so it sort of turned about 8 over. Then had a couple of good pars in a row, and then I just came home sort of with a sort of bogey, then a par, then a bogey, then a par. And it was sort of the alternate train. Like you're not on the train, but it just seems to be every alternate holes.
Well,
you just do something a bit silly where you drop a shot. So I ended up 4 over around the back 9, so I ended up about 12 over for the 18.
And it still is a version of the train. It's just not the all stations.
No, it's the express train.
Yeah.
So look,
that's not too bad, to be honest, for a return when you haven't played really much golf for a while, and you're using regular shafted rental clubs from 1854. It's not a bad effort. Yeah, look,
it was. I didn't take too much out of it, to be honest with you. The main takeaway for me was my wrist felt pretty good. At the end of it, I didn't have any of those sort of sharp sort of twinges like I had, say, down at Mollymook. And I actually hit a couple of really good shots out into the club that I went, okay, that gives me something to work with. So all in all, it was a day out. As I said, it was a hit and giggle. With a set of higher clubs and a short putter, and it was a good, I think, re-entry back into the world of golf from where I've been. So all in all, a good day out.
Nice. I think you're right. Like the biggest thing is being able to get through it without the wrist pain. Like that's a huge win, and that's something that you've been working towards for a little while now. So that is good. The efforts are obviously getting you in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. So that then, again, after a few sessions in the High Performance Centre, I also went out to, just did a couple of short game sessions at my home club. A little bit of work around the chipping, pitching green, a little bit of work on the putting green. Back to the long putter, back to my normal set of golf clubs. Put my name down for my first comp since June. And again, I didn't really go out with too much in the way of expectations. Yep. I wanted to just go out and just enjoy myself, come back into the game, just feel where I'm at, and then just let the round play out as it did. And to be honest with you, I was pretty happy with how it all started. I mean, down the first, I hit some, a couple of really good shots, par 5, 2 really good sort of shots down the fairway, hit a really good pitch onto around about sort of 10, 12 feet, and a couple of putts for par. Then a good sort of par 3 second, hit a good sort of 9-iron into the green. Again, a couple of putts for par. Had a good up and down on 3 for par. So, par start. And certainly for me, that's what I'm looking for at my home club. I mean, they're not the easiest first 3 holes. So, so certainly for me, getting out there and having pars around the first 3 holes is, a definite positive to be able to set up the rest of the round.
Sure.
So then on 4's a par 3, I hit a really, really good 8-iron that covered the flag. It ended up a little bit short. It ended up about 25 feet short. I've run the putt probably 4 feet past, and then just hit a really poor putt with my second and missed it, and made my first bogey. So that was a bit disappointing, but again, I wasn't reading too much into it. First competition back, everything's not going to go according to plan, so you just sort of move on to the next hole. Now,
it's a 3-putt bogey, right? Like, it's not the worst way to make bogey anyway. Like, there's going to be
it's not the end of the world.
You can live with that.
So down 5, which is a par 5. This is usually a birdie hole, and I would probably birdie this at least 50% of the time, especially off the forward tees, which is sort of what they were. Unfortunately, I've hit it into the fairway bunker, which was means that going for the green in 2 is a no-go. I've got 110 meters across to give me a really good angle into the flag. So I've grabbed my 50-degree wedge, which is about sort of the 110 meter distance, and just absolutely flushed it, absolutely drilled it. And it's actually gone about 118 meters, which means that I went too far and I was a little bit sort of blocked out from the trees. Which means that I had to, with a 6-iron, had to sort of punch a 6-iron. I had 124 meters to the pin, but then I had to thread it through the front of the green with the bunkers either side. And I actually hit a really, really good shot, nailed it right at the flag, landed on the front of the green, and just sort of ran about 40 feet past the hole. But then I left my first putt about 10 feet short. And my second putt, I actually hit a really good putt, which I'd sort of started the Kevin Na walk in about 3 or 4 inches out. And then it was sort of turning left into the hole, and then it just straightened and lipped out. So again, 3-putt bogey, which was a bit disappointing given it was, sort of half a birdie hole for me, especially off the front tee. So I sort of felt, didn't feel great after having 3 putts in a row and
would you say
making
that you
bogey
really
on effectively a birdie hole.
Yeah, would you say that you really did hit a really good putt when it didn't go in?
Well, because they've only recently renovated the greens, so they've still got the track marks in them from.
So you're
from
blaming the ground staff now.
What's that?
You're blaming the greenkeepers now.
No, not blaming the green staff at all. They're doing a great job, and they've got to do their renovations. It's part of golf, but. Okay. As you know, you can hit a putt that's tracking to the hole, and all of a sudden it then tracks down one of the core lines and misses, and that's basically what this did. So anyway, I was 2 over after 5, which, again, given I haven't played a comp round in about 3 months, right. Not You'd overly disappointed with it.
You would have taken that before you started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a good regulation par at 6, par 3. On 7, absolutely drilled a 4 fairway down the middle of the fairway. Hit a really good I was about 105 meters and hit a really good sort of 50-degree pitch to about 8 feet and hold it. So I felt as though 7 was just a really good, solid hole where, I hit 3 really good shots and deserved the birdie. So that was the positive. Now, 8's a par 5. Now 8, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with 8. I've played 8 really well at different times, but then I've played it really poorly at different times because, and I must admit, 8 is probably one of the 2 holes at my home club that not so much the fairway, but the green complex I really don't like. So it's a par 5. It's around 510 meters long, but the green has water or has a hazard in front of it, and then it's got a really narrow, shallow, slopey green and a bunker behind. So even from the forward tees, if you get a really good drive, you really can't go at the greens. So there's no real aggressive route and there's no real bailout. There is a little bit of room to the left, but there's not really any benefit to getting it over the hazard to the left-hand side of the green because you've effectively just got a 30 to 50 yard pitch, back across the green, whereas you've got, I had about an 80 meter pitch across the water, basically going straight up the slope of the green. So what I did on last Tuesday is that I just hit my 3 utility. Then I hit a 4-iron into the position that I wanted at about 80 meters short of the pin. Hit a really, really good pitch into around about 10 feet and left it in the middle of the hole about 2 inches short. So
that's frustrating.
Yeah, and look, 8's one of those holes where I've tried at different stages to be more aggressive, and it just never works out. So I think for me, from the forward tees, it's just, taking the medicine, playing conservative, hitting the 3 utility down the middle of the fairway. If it's from the back tees, I'll hit sort of 4 fairway probably down the middle of the fairway to end up in a good sort of setup position to have that sort of 70 to 80 metre pitch.
It's one of those ones when, often we talk about the John Sherman approach and the Mark Brody analysis with strokes gained on par fives, how it is generally speaking always advantageous to get the ball up as close to the green as you can, be aggressive off the tee and have a crack at the green wherever you can. But the exception to the rule is always when there is a hazard that you're bringing into play, or a penalty area, we should say. And that obviously is the case with this hole, is that that buffs that trend, because you can't, like you say, you can't go at it because, your likelihood of dropping one in the hazard is high, or even if you do get it over, stopping it on the green is probably pretty difficult, if not impossible.
Yeah, and that's I find that's an issue with a lot of the holes where I play is that there's a lot of water, and I know that. Dr. Raymond Pryor in Golf Beneath the Surface podcast, he talks about when you're standing up to a shot, having an acceptance of the outcome, whatever the worst case scenario could be. Are you prepared to accept that scenario? If you're not, then you need to choose a different shot. And for me, a lot of the time, taking driver off the tee, especially the forward tees at my home club, there's no advantage for me. I've tried it at different stages. I've tried to be more aggressive, but it just doesn't seem to work out. I always seem to play better and score better when I play it a bit more conservatively.
I think the difference though, and because this doesn't, and the same answer doesn't work for every person, right? Because things are a little bit more specific. And what that means, what I'm talking about here for you, is that your driver has been a bit of a problem club for you anyway. It's not, it doesn't, you don't necessarily have that reliable fairway finder with driver. Whereas your 3 utility seems to be very reliable. And when you need to hit a fairway, that's the club to pull. Yeah. And even the 4 fairway to a degree is probably, a little more reliable than the driver's been of late. So therefore, there is an advantage for you to club down. You still hit the ball long enough, so you're not really costing yourself opportunities to reach, par 4s in 2 or par 5s in, sometimes even in 2 still. So that's good. Whereas if I looked at my decision making in those situations, my driver generally is one of my more reliable clubs, and then clubbing down wouldn't necessarily help me. So my strategy might be different to yours.
Absolutely. And that's knowing your game and knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are and what your opportunities and threats are in your own game.
Yeah.
What I will say, and I was going to mention this a little bit later on, but it's a good opportunity to talk about it, is my strokes gained off the tee has really suffered because of that strategy. I'll go through the strokes gained after I finish, but it's effectively -2. The stats say it's the weakest part of my game, whereas I don't believe in reality it is, because it's a intentional decision based on what I think is the best strategy for me.
We will have that conversation after you get through your round.
Yes.
Because that's an interesting point. I do have a view, but we'll wait.
Yep. Okay. So on 9, so I was 1 over through 8, which I was pretty happy with.
Yeah.
And on the 9th tee, I actually started to get a little bit nervous.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was a bit surprised. I wasn't expecting it, I have to admit. Because I've been doing a little bit of work for a few little swing changes and the rest, and because I hadn't actually played in a competition since June, and even June was the only competition I'd played in since the New South Wales Senior Amateur Championship in April. So I'm a bit sort of, out of sort of, not experience, but out of the loop when it comes to, dealing with competition and dealing with a little bit of pressure, score pressure to be able to keep a good round going. So I got a little bit nervous, a little bit steery off 9, and I hit a bit of a, leaky right down the right-hand side of the fairway on 9. I was a bit blocked out, but I hit a really good 7-iron up over the top of the trees. Pin was right, and I just missed the green right. It was about 8 feet off the green in the fairly tightly mown sort of section off the green. And of course, I had a sort of, a little bit up over the fringe and down to the flag. I decided to putt it. And I hit a really nice putt to about 6 inches and hold it for par. So I turned in 1 over, which walking to the 10th tee, I was like, that's okay. Like I'm pretty happy with that. So going down 10, hit a really nice 3 utility down 10, par 5, hit my second approach. And well, it wasn't a great approach, but it was down the middle of the fairway, so it was fine. Hit a wedge to, and I was a bit disappointed with my wedge because I felt as though I hit a better wedge shot than where it ended up. It sort of was a little bit left of the flag and then sort of spun a bit left and then down the slope. So I ended up sort of about 25 feet from the flag. And I hit just a very, very ordinary putt to about 3.5 feet short and missed that one as well. So three putt bogey on another par 5, which I don't expect to make birdie on it, but it was still disappointing to have another 3 putt bogey. So we get to 11, hit a really nice 4 fairway off 11, hit a great 9-iron into probably about 15 feet, and my putt just rolled over the edge of the lip, so I made par. On 12, par 3, hit a really nice 7-iron into about 25 feet and binned it.
Nice.
So putt never looked like going anywhere else but in the middle of the hole. It was one of those putts where halfway there you're going, that is in.
Yep.
Yeah, really, really nice feeling. So then on 13th, again, 13's a bit of a nemesis hole for me with the water all the way down the left. Had a bit of an anti-left swing, which went down the right-hand side of the fairway, but still in a reasonably good position. I had a about 155 to the flag, so I didn't hit a great sort of tee shot, but it left me sort of further out than what I'd intended to be. But I hit just a really nice 6-iron into about 12 feet, and again just rolled over the edge of the hole, tapped in for par. So standing on the 14th tee was 1 over. Still hit a really nice tee shot on 14. I was about 90 meters to the flag. Hit a really nice wedge, and the green at 14 is a little bit of a tricky green where it's sort of a bit of a kidney shape where it's got an open front left, but then it sort of winds around the back of a bunker, and they'd stuck the flag in the championship position over the bunker. So it's great for a Tuesday comp to have a championship position like that. But so I never aim at that flag. I always aim over or just inside the left-hand edge of the bunker. Hit a really good 90-meter pitch into around about 15 feet. With my putt, I actually was really, really confident over my putt, and I ran it about 4 feet past. And I just went, that's not what I wanted. No. But anyway, I actually hit a really, really good short putt and never looked like going anywhere else but in the middle. So walked off 14, still 1 over. On 15, now 15 is a long par 5. I don't usually hit a driver off 15. A lot of people do, but I find it just gets narrow really, really quick. And again, a lot of the time you can't get to the green, so I just don't see too much benefit in hitting drivers. So I pulled out my 3 utility. We're playing from the front tees. I hit what I thought was a really, really good 3 utility, just absolutely drilled it down the left-hand side of the fairway. But it landed at the top of a mound and just kicked forward into the hazard.
Oh.
So we get down there, and I could hit it. So it wasn't wet, but it was still inside the hazard. I was a little bit, had a sort of bit of a half swing. Tree was in the way, so I just punched out a 7-iron around about 100 meters down the fairway, and I had 181 meters to the flag. So I was a little bit into the wind, and I thought, okay, this is really, really good distance for my 3 utility. I'll aim it at the right-hand side of the green away from the hazard. So the hazard sort of starts, around about 100 meters short of the flag or short of the green, and just winds its way all the way up around the left-hand side of the green and even a little bit behind the green. And I hit a really poor 3 utility left into the water.
Ugh.
Which was very, very disappointing. Because I wasn't aiming anywhere near it. It was just a really poor, one of my old over the top double cross swings, which just went left and further left. And as soon as it came off the club face, it was wet. And again, the disappointing thing about it as well is that I couldn't even, because of where it crossed, I couldn't even get up near the green. I had to drop 80 meters short of the green, back sort of close to the fairway, and hit a 80 meter pitch and hit it to around about 15 feet and then hold the putt for bogey. So it was a nice up and down from 80 meters for bogey. And look, at this stage, and I must admit, from 9, I was feeling a bit nervous all the way through. So I felt as though I'd had a couple of poor swings, but I'd also felt as though I'd played some good golf as well. So I wasn't disappointed in how I was going. Stood up on 16, par 4, absolutely drilled a drive straight down the middle of the fairway. Had 74 meters to the flag, hit a really good pitch, which landed up near the flag and then jagged back to probably about 12 feet and just hit. Well, I hit it was on the right line, but just didn't hit it hard enough. And it just sort of rolled over the left lip, the low side, and I tapped in for par. 17, par 3.
I'm done.
17's a par 3, which is the sort of close to an island green. It's got water sort of short left all the way around to the back left of the green. They'd put the flag in a championship position again, sort of back right, so water all around. I've hit a pitch, and this green about sort of halfway along the green. There's a big slope from back to front, and it's not really a tier. You couldn't put a flag there, but it's a sharp enough drop where if you just land either on the slope or maybe even just above the slope, it's going to jag all the way back, and it sometimes comes back close to into the water. So there's not a lot of room to work with on that back section of the green. So again, talking about the championship pin position, that is the championship pin position because it's really hard to get to. So I've hit what I felt was a really good wedge, just my 50-degree wedge, and it's just landed at the top of that sort of tier and jagged all the way back down. Didn't quite come to the front of the green because the greens had just been renovated, so it sort of came about halfway back, but I was still left with about a 35 feet putt up a reasonable slope and then downhill to the flag. And I've hit the putt probably maybe about 8 feet past, just had a little bit of speed to it and missed the returning for a 3-putt bogey.
Yeah, damn. How many 3-putt bogeys? That's 3?
4.
4.
Yeah.
Damn.
So then we come to the last Last is a par four, took my four fairway and just hit it straight right into the fairway bunker. Now, that's the famous fairway bunker that you're in,
Yeah. Were
and
you
and
in the
had
channel of the rake though?
no, I wasn't. I actually had a reasonably good lie, but I was a bit blocked out by the trees, and those trees they're not overly high. So I didn't feel as though I could get to the green because I needed to take one less club to get it up over the trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had about 165 meters to the flag, which is usually a 5 iron. But I had did a 6 iron. I couldn't have got a 5 iron from the fairway bunker. Probably if I was off the fairway, I probably could have. But from the fairway bunker, there was no way I was going to get it over the top of the trees. And I've hit probably one of my best fairway bunker shots from the sand. Absolutely drilled it straight over the top of the trees. And in fact, the guys I was playing with, they were just like, "Wow, that looks awesome." And it landed because it's the fairways we've had some reasonably hot weather on the central coast, so the ground was a little bit hard. It actually landed on the fairway, took a really big kick, and ended up probably only about maybe 6 feet short of the green. So
Yeah. Okay.
I was pretty happy with the shot, and it allowed me to actually putt because I had probably had about maybe a 30-foot putt, of which the first 6 feet was just fringe, and I putted up to about 6 inches and tapped it in for par. So I ended up having a 3 over 75, so 36 points.
It's an excellent round of golf, Andy Walker, and I think probably accompanied a little bit by feelings of what could have been with 4 3 putts.
Yeah, four three putts. So that was a little bit disappointing. If I just sort of go through sort of standard stats, I hit 10 out of 13 fairways and hit 13 of 18 greens in reg, of which two of those also were on the fringe. So close enough to 15 of 18 greens in reg, which, first comeback round
That's amazing.
from it was really, really good ball striking.
Mm.
So looking at my strokes gain stats, so driving, and this is against a scratch handicapper, driving was -2, approach play was -0.8, short game was plus 0.2, and putting was -0.4. But as I said, I think the driving is not overly accurate because if I drill down into my driving, the stats say that I've got an average of 215 meters off the tee, and that obviously has a lot to do with strategy, hitting the three utility. I hit the three utility around about 200 meters. So that's obviously going to bring my average distance back significantly from my driver, where I'm hitting sort of 255 meters with my driver.
That's right.
Yeah. So
And
thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point around you're executing the strategy that you wanted to execute and keeping the ball in play, and that all makes sense. The strokes gain won't take that into account.
No, it won't.
Because it can't, and it's basically, I know you know how it works, but for anyone listening that doesn't know how it works, it's translating distance to the hole into the expected amount of shots that it would take to finish from that point. So if you start, and with the scratch player as your as your benchmark, if you start, say, on a par five, 5 shots to finish the hole from that point, and you advance the ball to a point where it's now saying that there is 4.2 shots to finish the hole, then you've lost 0.2, and it will do that based on distance. So, if you're taking the three utility, that is why your strokes gain is leaking. Now, it doesn't it doesn't necessarily matter, because what are you out there for? Are you chasing a strokes gain result, or are you chasing a score on the scorecard at the end of the round?
Exactly.
The answer is pretty obvious. However, one other sort of perspective that I would share on that, and when we go to say John Sherman's work, and he talks about becoming an elite player, your driver has to be a weapon. And I feel like that's probably the next frontier for you to get through.
Yeah, it is for me, definitely.
Until such time as it is, it doesn't mean that playing the 3 utility or something like that off the tee is not the smart move. I think it still is, but that's probably that's that next level, is getting, because if you can continue the quality of your approach play, short game and putting, with the driver then becoming a bit more reliable and a bit of a weapon, then that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that front, and I'm putting a fair bit of work into making some changes so that will happen. And we've covered this a lot. My tendency to come over the top and have the sort of double cross, sort of inside with my backswing, and then up over the top and cutting across it, and very sort of handsy, and that's where a lot of it has come from. Making a lot of changes in relation to making that a lot more reliable, and even I did say that I was going to cover what I'm doing in the High Performance Centre in maybe not the next episode, maybe the episode after it, but a lot of that, and the whole Justin Rose exaggerated pump drill, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. That's the movements that I'm trying to incorporate into my swing.
Yeah, and that's good. I think the important thing from what I'm hearing is that the strategy around using the 3 utility pretty regularly off the tee is temporary, and it's until such time as you get the driver firing as it needs to. And then that strategy might be looked at once again.
It'll be looked at on certain holes. Certainly at my home club, there'll be still some holes where I won't. But I think there are those sort of holes on every golf course where you're not going to just pull drive out of the bag every single time.
And I mean, Kooindah's an interesting course. Like it's got a lot of hazards. It's got a lot of water, as the name suggests. And there are a lot of tricky points, and Greg Norman loves a fairway bunker. So there's plenty of those around. So I think, yes, he probably
even though he didn't design it.
Oh no, that's right. It was Parry.
Craig Parry.
Yeah, Parry. Yeah. But anyway, Greg Norman still loves a fairway bunker. There's no doubt about that. I think I'm still caught up about Longyard in Tamworth from earlier in the year. Anyway, it's
Stonecutters, where I was when I was in Sydney. Stonecutters Ridge. That's a Greg Norman design course.
Yeah. But I think it is one of those courses that probably does require a little bit more strategy than probably 50% of other or more of other golf courses that are out there. Where you can't just pull driver and stand up and bomb and gouge your way around. Otherwise you're going to score a very, very big number.
And look, if you sort of make a comparison to my previous home clubs and or the previous clubs I've been a member of, I mean my last or even my last, I've actually been a member of sort of, well, this is now 6 golf clubs I've been a member at. Obviously, I started at Mollymook, and that's there was I hit driver a lot at Mollymook. Then I went to New South Wales.
Mollymook's long too, so you really need to.
Yeah, and New South Wales, especially when you're into the wind at New South. I mean, that was I've played New South in hurricane conditions where you have no alternative. Stonecutters was one which has quite wide fairways, and even though that was probably the start of not feeling that confident with my driver, I still hit driver a lot at Stonecutters. Then when I moved up the coast, it was Wyong and Magenta. They were sort of the two clubs I was a member of when I first moved up to the coast. And again, Wyong, I hit driver a lot at Wyong, and Magenta, again, you have to at Magenta. Otherwise, it's just so long that it puts you at so much of a disadvantage. Having a 3 utility off the tees, just it's not an option really.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's strategy suited to the course without a doubt. But I mean, and that is, and you know this, that is why the strokes gain stat is saying what it's saying, and that's just purely based off distance. And you know, whilst it might be the sensible play, the strokes gain mechanism, I guess one criticism of it is that it's a bit of a blunt instrument from that perspective, because it's really just looking at distance. It's not taking into account, you know, what is between you and the hole necessarily. It's looking at it as the distance, or have you got a shot? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, look, and again, I think it's a tool, and a really good tool in the bag, to be able to analyze your game, but it's only one part. It's only one stat that you've got amongst a whole range of tools that you should have to be able to improve your game.
Yeah, it is. But I guess to the original point that I was trying to make, where I don't disagree with it, you know, and where your stance has been, I think it's a bit unfair saying that it's -2 because I'm actually playing the shots that I want to play and I'm keeping them in play, and I feel that it was a strength of your game in that round. That's a fair point. But where I don't disagree with it as highlighting it as, you know, whether you call it your weakest part of your game or whatever, as an area of development, I think it is, though, because of all the things that we were talking about before, that the inconsistency of the driver is something that's making you second guess pulling it out of the bag a lot, strategy aside. And that is something that you know and that you're working on and that you want to, you know, work through the pump drill and all those things to get better. And so from that perspective, it's kind of telling the truth, even though it's getting there in a bit of a roundabout fashion.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Because I mean, I look at, say, and I don't have a lot of data, but if you look at, say, the New South Wales Country Championships last year. Now at Parks, I hit drive off the tee a lot, and my strokes gained was round one was -0.9, and in round two was +0.1. I look at Wyong. I played Wyong seniors in 2024. Strokes gained with my driver is -0.7. Carnarvon +0.7. So I look at my strokes gained when I go to other courses. My strokes gained, and then sort of, you know, if we go through sort of last year, my Kooindah rounds -2, -4, -2.9, -1.6. -2.3, -2. So when I'm at Kooindah, specifically playing, my strokes gained is dramatically worse as when I go to other courses. So I don't think my driving is the worst part of my game. I've got stuff to work on. There's no doubt about that. I've got a you know, that big sort of over the top movement, which leads to a pretty dramatic hook at times. And I really want to get that out of my game. But I also don't think it's the weakest part of my game.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really, I don't think it really matters if you highlight it like that or not. Like the strokes gain is just pointing that out because of the distance, and you're giving up distance because you're playing a different club. Bottom line, you know, the question is why you're playing a different club. If you had a more reliable, like what you felt was a more reliable driver that wasn't going to produce the old snap hook every now and then, would you play it more often? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it would dramatically change what I'm doing in my local club comps.
Yeah. And maybe it also just says something about the course setup and the course design, that it actually matters less about driving distance and more about some of the precision with approach play, which is also probably true.
Yeah, and certainly off the members, off the whites. I don't think Kooindah is a difficult course. I actually find it to be relatively straightforward. Certainly very different to Magenta. Whereas Magenta, regardless of where you play it off, it's a very, very difficult golf course. So yeah, you're right. I mean, off the back tees, it's a bit different, but and I do hit driver a bit more off the back tees, but yeah, I think Kooindah is definitely a positional play rather than an all-out brute strength is going to win. Is going to overpower it.
Yep. Well, there you go.
So that's where it is. So I'm pretty happy with where I'm at the moment. I think that, and certainly from a health perspective, we've talked about I've lost over the last sort of, well, not quite 2 months. I've lost about 10 kilos. So I think that has had a dramatic change. It made a dramatic difference to my wrist as well. I think there was a fair bit of inflammation as a result of me being grossly overweight. But also having now taken...
How does it feel saying that sentence on a podcast, though?
Well, it is what it is. I mean,
I know.
we're here to be honest, aren't we?
Yeah, I know. It's just, it's a...
But it is. I mean, for me...
It's true. Like, it's...
For me, 97.9 kilos is 18 kilos overweight. It is. It just is. I mean, my good weight and what my aim is to get back down to about 80. So I jumped on the scales this morning at 86.5. So, it's a dramatic difference.
You're under the 200 pounds now.
I am.
Yeah.
Well, so I think that has made a big difference, as well as I'm still taking the glucosamine chondroitin and the chicken sternum cartilage.
Nice.
So that's all good. And I think that's all helped as well. It's just been a combination of all of those things and some rest as well. There's no doubt that a bit of rest does help.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good, Andy Walker. Well done.
So that's me.
Points.
That's me in my golf. 36 points. Hopefully, it might get me some points in October. Get me on the board.
Yeah. Well, before we worry about October, we're going to have to do the wrap up of September, and I do apologise, Pilgrims, because I haven't done the maths yet on that one due to the holiday period.
I can tell you what I can tell you is that I won't get any points in September.
Yeah, I don't actually know if I will either, because my country championships rounds, I think, equated to 30 and 31 Stableford points, which is, I just don't think that's going to cut the mustard.
No.
The Pilgrims raised the bar way too high to allow rounds like that to get in the points. But anyway, you never know. I will do that, I promise, and we'll run through it next episode.
Right.
And chuck some information out there. But that's all on me. That's what happens when you take annual leave.
Yes, it is. But, got to get away.
Oh, look, and well and truly worthwhile as well. So it is interesting because it's also meant that I haven't actually played a great deal of golf because, we drove up we left on a Friday afternoon, so missed that weekend, and then sort of got back the following weekend, so missed that weekend as well. And obviously away from the high performance centre, so not even any practice going on or anything like that. So I did manage to get out for 9 holes this afternoon after work, now that we've got daylight savings.
Yep.
Back again, and not really to worry about scoring or anything like that, but just to try and find a bit of a swing. And, as you know, the driver had been a little bit wobbly of late, so looking just to try and find some feeling with that. And I actually hit the ball pretty well. I was reasonably happy with that. It's good. We've got monthly medal coming up this weekend, which I am going to play in.
Okay, nice. So, is it a AM or PM time?
It is, a bit of both. It's 11, so it starts in the AM.
Okay.
The bulk of it in the PM. I couldn't get out in the morning, actually. There really weren't many spots available, so it looks like it'll be a popular day out there. but I'm going to try and get out a couple of times after work this week just to get a little bit of feel back in things because, I did feel a bit rusty today, to be honest. And, didn't hit the ball too badly, but it didn't feel like you know when you kind of just feel like you're missing a little bit of control. Just don't have the complete confidence that you're hitting the ball exactly where you want to hit the ball. It had that feeling. Didn't hit too many particularly bad shots, but just didn't have that level of confidence over the ball.
Just a bit of rust. You need to sweep up the cobwebs and
Pretty much.
just get out and a couple of games, and that'll come back relatively quickly.
There's no substitute to just hitting golf balls, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm hoping to get out for one more. I mean, we're almost halfway through the month as at the time of recording, and I'm hoping to get out and play another comp round in October, and then next month a couple of exciting developments next month, which I'm going to try and get out and play in an event next month, which I'm very excited about. So I will let the Pilgrims know a little bit later what event that is, and how I'm going for that. But that's the goal. There's an event at the end of November that I've got my eye on.
Well, can't wait to hear all about it. Very good, Andy Walker. Is there anything else that we need to cover on episode? Where are we? 98. Fishing Links Golf Show.
So we've got the ton coming up in a couple of episodes. So been at it for 2 years, once a week for 2 years.
Shoot 100 for the 100th?
100 minutes?
Maybe.
Not sure about that.
Maybe. We could pull it. We could do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, well, Pilgrims, if there's anything that you think we should do for the 100th, please drop us a line. Let us know. And I do want to call out once again, I mentioned this a couple of episodes ago. If you are listening from Iceland, please get in touch. I want to hear all about Icelandic golf. We're getting downloads over there and we want to hear about it. Also, we've picked up Andy Walker, country number 52.
Excellent.
Which is Peru, is now on the pilgrimage, the Peruvian pilgrimage. So if you are listening from Peru, drop us a line. Let us know what.
So we have a country for every week of the year.
We do. Maybe we should do a country focus on
for a year.
Yeah. Until we pick up the 53rd, and then that'll be okay. That's a terrible idea, and we're not doing that.
It is. But you know what is a good idea, and something that I really think that we need to be doing for our 100th episode.
What's that?
And in fact, I think we need to do it every single episode.
Okay. Tell me what it is. What do we need to do? What's this great idea?
Rock out, Pilgrims.
Thanks for listening to us today. We love hearing from our pilgrims, so please reach out to us through any of the links in the show notes. We know golf is hard, so we hope we can help you shoot better scores and inspire you to keep trying. Rock on, pilgrims.